All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you once again for tuning into our SMB training. So I think it has been some time. Yeah, previously it was like more than 2 weeks ago, I think 2 3 weeks. Okay. So today we have, decided to go into this topic of fat. All right. I would say with so many nutrition topics that have evolved around the years, we have seen so many trends come and go, right? But there's this one topic that will never be out of trend one. There will never be a topic that out of trend. It will always be relevant. And in fact, it has been relevant for as long as those days. Okay, and one of those topic is fat. All right, is the thing time and time again we talk about it. People will always want to know, okay, because it's such a complicated cell. All right, the more you look into it, fat is actually not just fat, it's actually a cell in our body. Okay, so it has a very different behavior. And it's one of those things that people always want to control it, but for some reason, you just cannot control this thing. And my mom, for example, okay, she said that she has been trying to lose weight since she is 18. Okay, she said now she's in her 60s now, and she still find it a struggle to manage her weight. Okay, so this is the reason why we are going to talk about this, because I think that many people are still struggling and still don't really understand why is it that fat will grow and how some people can lose so easily and why some people they just cannot do anything and progress seems very slow. All right, so we're gonna talk about some basic characteristic of fats and see how what we can do to overcome this problem. All right, so give me a moment as I share my screen. So like I said, fat is a very complicated cell and it's not something that you can control. I would say muscle building is a lot easier. Okay, muscle building is much easier than burning fat. All right, because fat is influenced by a lot of external factors. Okay, but before we go into it, we just want to look into how does the general population stand, okay, in terms of weight and fat percentage. So obesity rate in Malaysia especially is about 54%. And I think most of the countries hover around 50 over. Singapore may be slightly better at 40-ish, but the overweight range is still pretty high. Okay, so this is what it looks like, okay, when we look about fat percentages. Because sometimes when we talk about obesity, we don't really know exactly how it looks and how is it demonstrated in a person's physique. Okay, so obesity with the obesity rate, this is also quite a good chart for you to also evaluate where you are. All right, and how does it actually look like? Because when we look at the mirror, we don't realize, how do we compare with a healthy kind of fat percentage rate. So majority of the population is here actually for guys. All right, it's 30 to 40%. Most of the men hover around this range. So if you can be in 20 to 25, actually consider it's quite okay really. All right, and for those who have 15 to 10, those are really washboard ads really. Okay, so those are people who very likely do very intensive gym and workout, and they are very careful with their diet in order to achieve that. But if you can go to 25, actually it's considered pretty good for men. All right, so majority of the population hover around here. Okay, now for women, all right, so this is how it looks like. Women, the threshold for fat percentage is higher than men. Okay, men is lesser than 30. Okay, but women, even if you're 35, is still okay, but up to a certain age now. Right? So majority of the population is actually here. So women in 30 consider is actually quite okay really, because for 25, it means that you need to be able to see some definition of muscle mass already. Okay, so it's actually quite difficult. And I think women, especially, we also have the struggle of having high fat percentage, especially once we cross over to a certain age with menopause. Okay, where sometimes we can even go into this shape as well. All right, so this is when it gets very challenging to manage. All right, so what are the recommendations? Okay, what is the healthy fat percentage that you should be? So for men, the requirement is lower. Okay, the fat percentage for men is lower than that of compared to women. So for men, actually acceptable, they say is 18 to 25%. So it should be about here to and below lah. Okay, is okay, here to here. So these two and below is considered acceptable. So anything above 25 actually isn't too good already. So it's already 30 to 40. All right. So this is where, uh, the general guidelines would be. And if you're 14 to 15, you're considered very fit. Okay. Anywhere lesser than 20% is considered quite good. For women, okay, the acceptable range is 25 to 30. Okay, anything more than that is considered on the high side. And of course, if you can go to, these are considered, women, if you're less than 20%, is actually considered very lean already. You must be very athletic in order to achieve the kind of fat percentage. So most women hover about 20% to 30. Okay, so this is where we should be, okay, realistically speaking, in terms of our body fat percentage. Okay, so I just want to go into this a bit. What is visceral and subcutaneous? Because people always confuse. They thought all the fat around the body is the same thing. Okay, so visceral is actually, if you look at this chart, it actually shows us how. So this is the muscle mass. Okay, this is visceral and this is subcutaneous fat. So when it comes to fat burning, actually, it's quite tricky here. Okay, some people depends on them. Some people, they can lose visceral fat very easily, but their subcutaneous fat is harder to lose. All right. For some people, they can lose subcutaneous fat easier, but visceral fat is harder to lose. Okay, but generally, subcutaneous is actually harder to lose one, especially those under, if you don't do any exercise, it's actually quite difficult to reduce the subcutaneous fat. And for most people, visceral fat, they can go down unless you're up to a certain age, where when you have menopausal issues, then visceral fat gets a bit harder. But generally, actually, subcutaneous is harder to lose on that basis. Okay, so we're going to go through some, differences between men and women. So men usually at early 30s, that's where they start to accumulate a lot of visceral fat and they start to develop the belly. Okay, at early 30s start already because that's when their hormones, the testosterone level has reduced. So if they don't compensate with eating lesser, they will continue to gain more and more weight. So that's how men generally are not so image conscious compared to women. So they tend to just eat all the way to, old age. So for women, late 40s, that's when the visceral fat and abdominal fat start to gain. So for us, our visceral fat increase is more towards the menopausal age. But during early 30s, we gain more subcutaneous fat, like all these, the love handles and things like that. So this is where we are slightly different in terms of how our fat is distributed according to gender and age. All right. So I'll talk about the science of fat. You know why? Because I feel that insulin and food intake, okay, this is definitely a core already. Okay, I think we all kind of know this. All right. And of course, there's a lot of science that back insulin and food intake as a concept when it comes to weight loss. But I feel that if we only just target on these 2 points, you don't really answer the real question, I feel. And I think that sometimes it's oversimplified because a person can be doing everything right. You can be eating little, okay, your insulin may not be high, but you still cannot explain why some of them, they just cannot move past a certain weight. Okay, so this is where now, especially with recent development, more and more scientists are discovering how hormonal balance actually play a very important role when it comes to the ability of our body to mobilize those fat tissues. And it has a lot to do with toxin load as well that's in our body. Okay, this is quite a new concept. So not everybody understands this quite yet, but I think it is actually quite an important factor to consider whenever we're looking into weight loss. All right. So we have to look into two different point of view. Okay. So Dr. Benjamin actually did this very interesting study. So Dr. Benjamin Lehman is actually a professor in the area of fat cells. Okay, he not just only study like metabolic health, but he's actually very specialized on the behavior of fat cells. He actually studies how fat cells behave. Okay, so he did this very interesting experiment to discover how fat cells actually grow. So he isolates fat cells, okay, from animals, I think, okay, animals, okay, then you put in the petri dish. So you want to see how can this fat cell grow under what circumstances. So he put a high fat and high sugar solution. So this is when usually what we eat. Okay, a lot of the food that we eat actually does trigger. Okay, but surprisingly, there isn't any change. He said he put there for a few days, Fat cell, when you put sugar and fat itself, right? Totally in 3 days, you see there's no change in the fat tissue at all. Okay, it's like a very small state. But he did some changes to it. So he put fat cell in the same thing, the same variable, okay, and he injected insulin. He said once he put insulin, right, he injected insulin, just the next hour, all right, the fat cell actually expanded double the size. All right, so he said this is a very fascinating theory because many people they don't really see the how insulin actually triggers fat cell growth. And because of this, he is very sure and he's very convicted that fat cell needs insulin to grow. So without insulin, there's no way fat cell can grow. Okay. So for him, he said that this is actually is a proof to his theory that fat cell needs insulin in order to grow. So after that, of course, he did put some food now, which is high fat and sugar, and hormones will tell the fat cell what to do. So without the instruction from insulin, our fat cell will not know what to do with the food that it has. Okay? So this forms a very important principle that we have to understand. With insulin itself, okay, in the body, you can have high insulin. And if we have the wrong type of food, okay, that is fat promoting, this is where we enter the fat forming zone. Okay, this is not fat burning zone, but this is the fat forming zone that our body will start to multiply. Okay, and the amount of fat cell will start to grow tremendously in our body. So there will be two conditions that have to meet in order for our body to experience that kind of fat growth. All right. So next, I want to go into toxin load and hormonal balance. Okay, this is the part that I want to stress a little bit more. Okay. So, however, sometimes people who change their eating and activity levels still don't lose any weight. Okay, despite of their best efforts. Okay, and especially women now. Okay, when they go through this and especially battling through a lot of hormonal fluctuations, they find it's very difficult to lose weight. All right. Okay, so one possible explanation for this is the inability to lose excess weight is the metabolic changes caused by exposure to chemicals. Okay, because with all the inhalation of, okay, I'll show those pictures later. Researchers have noted that lab animals gain weight when they're exposed to specific chemical substances. Okay, so it is largely due to the things that we do every single day, and these are the things that we do day in day out that we don't realize. Okay, chemicals from all these plastic containers, and especially when you put in a microwave. Okay, these are things that will further leach a lot of plastics into our body, and it can actually change the behavior of your hormonal cells. Okay, so when you're supposed to lose weight, okay, your body don't respond to that, and your body will tend to, it says here, falsely stimulate hunger and store fat when it's not needed. So it interferes with the signaling in our body. And all this, like from the leads from canned food and especially pesticides, okay, from our daily produce that we eat every day, actually does a lot of false signaling in our body. So the insulin in our body just don't get excreted as it should, and it remains stuck in our body. And some other hormones like our female hormones or even male hormones as well that it just don't get regulated so easily. So it messes up with a lot of internal metabolic system. So it actually distorts our metabolic function in our body. So there's actually starting to have a weak connection between food triggers and metabolic dysfunction. That if we don't take in action to help our body to clear all this excess toxin, it's going to interfere with a lot of even insulin signaling in our body that will cause our body to just not behave in the way it should. Okay? So why our body can become inefficient in clearing toxins? Okay, because our body, we have a liver, right? So liver, and they say all of the other detox organs should be able to perform this well. So what are the reasons that cause our modern day society people unable to clear this effectively? Okay, number one, of course, increased exposure to toxins. This is nothing new. You only get worse from here. Constipated actually. If a person have constipation, actually it's not good at all because this is the main site in which our body removes toxins. So it's very important that we have regular bowel movement. Okay, if you're deficient in specific nutrients, if you don't have enough enzyme as well, it will cause our body to be very sluggish. It's unable to clear and to remove excess hormones in our body. Okay, and poor diet, of course, okay, that don't encourage detoxification system, excessive inflammation, stress, cortisol, all right, and not enough good quality sleep. All this will also interfere in how our body will to operate and to be able to clear these toxins effectively. So how our body get rid of toxin? Okay, so these are the few main organs that our body utilize in order to get rid of the flush all these toxins more effectively. So of course, main is our liver, our gut, but of course our kidney as well and our lymph node. So these are some of the key organs that we have to pay more attention because they do help to regulate our hormone and the toxic imbalance. Okay, so we have to also think of ways how we can target and activate these organs. Okay, so when they're overburdened and neglected by high toxin load and especially lack of nutrients, where we don't eat enough high quality food, we don't cook our own meals, where we always eat out. So this is when all these organs will start to slow down and it's unable to perform its function. So it gets very congested and sluggish, and they have higher toxic load and symptoms of weight gain, okay, and all the other like tiredness and this kind of thing will become more and more severe. And people will have water retention problems, bloatedness, unexplained, sometimes even gastric problems, okay. So these are some of the other things that would really cause a lot of discomfort to a person, okay, when it comes to their detoxification organ not performing as it should. All right. So this is where I'm going to introduce few grade, okay, where we're going to tackle the most important chunk first. So both are also important when it comes to optimizing our detox organ. We need to look into the food and insulin first, okay, because that really proves how fat cells grow directly. Okay, so these are our three key principles that we'll be touching today. So number one is controlling the intake of food. Okay, so this one we cannot run. And we'll talk a bit more on protein today. And we want to aim to increase metabolic rate. So how we can shrink our fat cells is we have to increase metabolic rate. And number one is controlling insulin level as low as possible. And number two, we want to increase our metabolic rate. And number three, if we can optimize our detox organ, very likely this person, even though they are going through a difficult time in their weight loss journey, they will be able to see some results, okay, in achieving the fat percentage that they want. Okay, so we can make our fat cells shrink. Okay, this is what we want. Okay, so we have to definitely look into which food will affect insulin level. So fat don't have any effect to insulin. Protein, small, but carbs has large effect. Okay, but if it's a high carbs and high fat, it will lead to very fast weight gain, okay, because of its high calorie content. So when you mix all these things, best is to mix all of these and with the correct percentage, okay, so that we will get the right kind of fuel and it don't cause our fat to grow continuously, okay? Okay, so one major problem in this is really not enough vegetable and fiber, okay? So this is really one of the biggest problem that we face. That is very difficult actually to prepare our own meals. It's not practical. So this is the one of the major reason why we just cannot lose weight. Okay, there isn't any proper buffer to absorb excessive carbs and unhealthy fats. Okay, so this is where BLS plays a very important role. Okay, with a combination of different fibers, this is not your ordinary fiber. When combination is able to do very important mechanism to block, okay, the excessive carbs that will spur our insulin level in the body. All right, so it also has 13 vitamin and mineral to ensure that we are properly nourished. So this can also help to support our detoxification organ. All right, so the best thing is that it's low in calories. Okay, it's only 24 kilocalories. And the total sugar is 0.4, which comes all purely from plants. And the fiber is 4 grams. So fiber 4 grams in food is also considered very high already. Because usually when you eat rice or whatever, or the normal noodles, it's only like 2 grams of fiber. So we are really deficient in fiber. So this, when it comes in contact with food, is able to absorb the excess sugar so that insulin will stay low. So then it will not stimulate any growth in our fat cells. So this is actually very important as to protect us from the food that we eat. Okay, so this is a study that shows how blood glucose without bioslice S Okay, and how with BioLife S, it is able to reduce it significantly. So BioLife S plays a very important role to regulate our sugar and also our insulin levels. Okay, so I want to touch about this quite interesting discovery. I didn't know how important protein is, okay, until I really go into this research. So they say that protein has a higher thermic effect compared to carbohydrate and fats. So it means that your body actually has to use more energy to burn protein compared to carbs and fat. So here it says that protein you use 20 to 30%. So for example, if you eat food with 100 calories, okay, so your body has to use 30 calories to burn the food that you eat. So net, right, you are only consuming 70 calories. So this is like, for example, if you eat fish or if you eat chicken, for example. So your body, you burn some fat and you internalize lesser calories compared to carbs and fats. So for carbs, your body also need to generate extra energy to burn it. There's only 5 to 10%. But fats is the worst. Okay, when we take in fats, our body don't really have to use much energy. So your net calories is actually very low. So this is why it's important that you also have to keep into consideration all these other aspects as well that will affect the way we burn calories. Okay, so now we're moving into burning calories. So this means that your body uses more energy to digest, absorb, and to metabolize protein compared to carbohydrate fat. So metabolic rate may increase up to 30% after protein consumption. So even if you're sitting down, all right, you're not doing anything, you're not walking, you are burning 30% more compared to a person who is just done eating noodles. Okay, if they're only eating noodles or fried rice, okay, their metabolic rate is a lot lower. So you'll be burning approximately 30% more at rest, if you take protein. Okay, so and also protein is our most filling macronutrient. So 10 grams of protein will keep you fuller for longer than 10 grams of fat or carbohydrate will. So if you eat a very high quality and solid protein, it can keep you full for a much longer duration compared to if you just eat a high fat food or eating a high carbohydrate food alone. So this is why I think many people, when they are not hitting their goals, a lot of it has to do with not enough clean source of protein. Many times the protein that we eat is also already tainted with a lot of high fat inside as well. So that will influence the calorie count when it comes to how our body will increase metabolic rate. Okay, so I want to also stress that I know with Feel Great, we emphasize a lot on 16-8, the intermittent fasting. But this 16-8 was introduced to people who are at the very beginning stage of Feel Great. Okay, so for those who are on Feel Great for 3 to 4 months, if you've already experienced the weight loss, right, by right, you should change to a 4-4-12 eating pattern. Because prolonged with 16-hour fast, you will lose muscle mass. Okay, because this is really meant to just lose the weight. As you lose weight, you will lose muscle mass. So after that, you should switch to a 4-4-12 eating pattern. And after that, when you feel like you need to go through another cycle, then you switch back to 16-8. So I generally don't recommend people to be on 16-8 for a long period. Okay, especially if you're a woman and you're of a certain age. Okay, so and also for beginners who are starting off with a 16-8, it's actually quite difficult, especially for the first week or so. All right, because they're not used to having long hours. If you wake up at 6, your next meal is 12. So you're totally not eating anything. So many people will find it very difficult to cope with that kind of hunger. So for beginner, if you are trying to transition, this is when a protein source will be very beneficial for you. Okay, so 16-8 is effective for weight loss, but not meant for the long term. Okay, eventually we want to go back to 4-4-12, so our body metabolism won't slow down. Eating a clean source of protein is key to ensure you don't pack excess calories and toxins. Okay, yeah, toxins will also be introduced if you eat whatever that's outside in the restaurant. Okay, and I think whey protein is most convenient. It offers benefits for post-meal glucose and insulin levels. Okay, and it's also proven that whey protein helps to control our post-meal spike. Okay, sugar and insulin spike, and whey protein actually helps in that. Okay, so I think this is essential because you don't get enough clean protein. Okay, I think this is key. All right, and a lot of it is really processed, and for breakfast or even when you are hungry as a snack, you just quickly get the most convenient option out there. Okay, which is bread, all these empty calories, and there's really hardly any protein at all. Okay, so this is when if you find it very challenging to incorporate in the diet, a protein shake would be very beneficial in this case to increase also your metabolic rate. Okay, and this is just a very brief comparison between our competitors, and our formula is actually one of the best, really. And these are all major brands that we all know, brand A, brand U, brand N. Okay, we are all well versed with all these major players. Okay, protein, no doubt they are higher. Okay, but it comes to how clean is their formula, you need to look at the sugar content. Okay, it's 19, 9, 11. It's so high. It's as high as the protein content. So actually, in the end, are you really gaining muscle or gaining fat? Okay, because sugar promotes fat gain, right? So I don't really understand this formula also. And our fiber is way more than all the fiber that's here, right? So I think I want to highlight this so that you know actually our formulation is very good. Okay, so if you're considering, and if you really want to look into increasing your weight loss progress or even gaining more muscle for your own benefit, I think LC Vineda is actually a really good option. Okay, and further into this topic, of course, we want to also further increase our fat burning capacity. So this is where you can add on another additional uni mate. Okay, it has a lot of benefit. It really does help to power our mitochondria. Okay, and of course, it does help to increase this GLP-1. All right, this GLP-1 is the new science that has entered the chat. Okay, that has lots of science about how we can further encourage weight loss. Okay, so for our Unimate, compared to the control group, there's 2 times more GLP-1 compared to if you just drink water alone. Okay, so this is where taking more Unimate can increase your engine. Okay, so that you're able to burn more, able to utilize and to shrink the fat cell even more into your diet. Okay, so this is purely just GLP-1 with insulin alone. Sorry, this is just purely with water. And okay, for yerba mate, it's 2 times more. So there'll be a lot more GLP-1 circulating in the body if you take in an additional GLP-1. Okay, so more yerba mate means more GLP-1, and more GLP-1 equals to better utilization of insulin and better fat burning. Okay, in short, without going into too much detail. So yerba mate actually, many people are also on field grade are also increasing. They're also taking another additional GLP-1, and that really does help them a lot in managing their hunger as well. Okay, so after going into controlling this with Biostat S, controlling the impact of food. Secondly, we talk about how to increase our metabolic rate with protein and additional mate. So now last but not least is how to optimize our detox organ. Okay, so interestingly, our field grade also produces liver protective effect. So this is actually really cool, I feel, that it can even link to results that can increase the glutathione in our body. They're quite substantial compared to just water alone. So this itself also helps to benefit your liver. So Dr. Benjamin said that GLP-1 for Unimate, not just only for insulin, he did talk about how it helps the liver health. Okay, I spoke this at length last session where we spoke a lot about liver and fat burning and things like that. So with the GLP-1 in Unimate, it does help to improve. In some way also detox your liver really. Okay, but if you want to talk about boosting even more, okay, there's curcumin. All right, curcumin is a very great antioxidant. It helps to remove fat from the liver, decreases synthesis of triglycerides. Okay, so this is another new science that really helps to further reduce the fat percentage in our body. Okay, turmeric is known for liver detoxifying properties, as well as anti-inflammatory, cancer-fighting characteristic, and some studies suggested positive effect on curcumin supplement on liver enzyme in lipid profile. Okay, so I want to stress that turmeric is actually really, really good for detoxifying the liver. All right, and also for other parts as well, like our gut, but mostly for our liver. Because liver directly instructs how our body should store fat, use fat, or burn fat. Okay, so turmeric in food is actually good, okay, to incorporate that in your cooking, but it only contains 2 to 6% curcumin. All right. Experts say to stick with curcumin supplement, especially high quality ones that contain up to 95% curcumin content. So if you eat food, you're only absorbing this much. The bright orange doesn't mean that you're actually taking curcumin. Okay, you're only taking very, very little. So this is where most of the time, if you want to take curcumin, experts will recommend a supplement. All right, that has 95% curcumin. So this is where things like curcumin, okay, joint mobility is actually very good because it's 95% curcumin. So it has the most concentrated uh, curcumin active ingredient that really helps to detoxify our liver. Okay, it's well-rounded formula combined with boswellia, okay, further reduce inflammation. And to increase absorption even more, take curcumin with a meal, right? Best to eat with meal because absorption will be better. Okay, and best to take it, yeah, with an evening meal so that even when you sleep, you also get that benefit into your body. So this is for in Singapore, and this is for Malaysian version. So you can use either one of that can really help to also further increase your metabolic rate as well. Okay, last but not least, okay, for those who are into a gut cleanse, okay, I'm not going to talk this in detail because I think we talked a lot of stuff already. Okay, so today I'm just going to keep this very, very simple. So for those who have not yet started, it's highly encouraged. This is one of our flagship for 20 years already. So it has really good, high quality ingredients that can really help for us to detoxify and to balance out our body. All right. So it formulated with top line ingredients help our body to naturally detox and improve our gut movement. Okay, so it really helps to reduce the toxin load and help to regulate our hormones. So this is actually really good to help to declutter and declog, okay, our detoxification system. And this can really help to also overcome. And we have a lot of customers who have stagnation issues when they're on this clear start, it really help them to detoxify them better. All right. So in conclusion, what have you learned today? Actually, fat loss is a very complicated topic. Okay, we cannot just look at it based on food and insulin alone. Okay, we need to look into the overall picture about how we eat daily on a daily basis. Are we eating the right composition of food? And of course, sometimes for some people, a detoxification is necessary. Okay, if they are really going through a very hard time losing weight and stagnation is really an issue, so they have to also look into that angle of detoxification as well. All right, it's a multi-dimensional problem, needs several approaches to tackle it effectively. Okay, so there are three key principles, which is controlling the impact of food through fibers, high quality fibers from Bio5 S, increasing metabolic rate. We have to increase this. Okay, if we can increase this, then we can eat more. Right? If we can increase our metabolic rate, it means that we can eat more and we don't have to eat so little. And we also have to optimize detox organs because this also can help us in some way eat more as well. All right, so we don't have to eat small portions and just for the sake of losing fat. So the key is to maintain a healthy fat percentage. You can't change your genes, but lifestyle is the deciding factor. Okay, if you can make the right decision and incorporate the right principle, you are able to maintain and to achieve our desired goals. All right. Okay. Right. So of course, I also want to just bring it to reminder, everyone's body is different at the end of the day. Okay, of course, we all can have a target to what kind of figure we want to have end of the day. All right, but it's also important that we set realistic goals because there's always different kind of body type end of the day. Okay, not everyone is going to be able to achieve this kind of body, lah, I'm trying to say. Okay, end of the day, not everyone can achieve this kind of body, but you need to go into knowing and understanding your own body type and what is really the healthy version for you. Okay, but of course, this also takes into consideration a healthy fat percentage for you. All right, so I think with this, don't want people to have the wrong concept that you have to lose a lot of weight or need to have a very low fat percentage only it will be healthy for you. Okay, so it's very important to understand your own body as well so that we don't set unrealistic expectations as we are, going into our own health journey. All right. Okay, so this is the end of the presentation. So I hope that it's not too much information and you have learned a thing or two. Okay, so I want to talk about this very exciting event next week, okay, next Tuesday, where we will be talking about science of fat. There'll be changes. It will not be the same thing as today. Okay, we're going to do quite a fair bit of changes to the content and we're going to make it more suitable for physical training on next week as well. Okay, so make sure to bring your friends along because there'll be some interesting activity ongoing. That's quite rare, I think. So if you don't want to lose out on any opportunity and there are some exclusive gift as well, then be sure to tune in and to join us on the 20th of August. Okay. All right. So thank you everyone for your time today. So if there is any questions, you can actually ask. Okay. So hi, Sunan. Native Legend tea and 6 bar 7 is good for liver. Oh yeah, actually those are quite good as well. Native Legend tea is actually very good as well. Yeah. So yeah, you can take that as well. But if you want to add on to something that's a little bit stronger, you can actually incorporate uh joint mobility. It can really help in that for liver. All right. 6 and 7 no lah. I think that's not so much for liver, more for sugar and insulin management. Okay, so hi Claudia, when is the best time you need to take 2 bars life S, or is bars life S just one enough? Thanks. Actually, you can take 2 bars life S also one. I mean, if you have the allowance, okay, if money is not an issue, why not? Okay, you can take 2 bars life S one shot during your lunch also, or your biggest meal. So actually, that's not a problem one. Or one enough. Oh, you mean just one day, 1 bar life S? I don't think that's enough, because your lunch and dinner, unless you eat very, very little during your dinner. So I think actually you need more than one packet lah. I think you need two. Okay, for a whole day lah, talking about that. But if you can take two in for one meal, one big meal, that will be even better, definitely. So because it cuts off the sugar and insulin even more. Mm. So can we take really mate a day, morning, lunch, and dinner? Okay, so can we take 3 really mate a day? I mean, if your body can take it, why not? I think it's quite strong, you know. Your GLP-1 will be off the roof for sure. If you're on this for morning, lunch, and dinner, I think your fat burning should be up, should be very good, man. Okay. So I think this one, I think 3 is a bit much, but if your body can tolerate, you can sleep, no problem, then I think it's not an issue. So if you can take 2, yeah, why not? I think I would recommend 2 lah. 3 is for those who can tolerate high caffeine content. Okay. So not a question, but just want to add that there are recent studies showing that a 10-minute walk straight after your meal can reduce your blood glucose level by up to 30%. That's true, actually. Yeah, just by walking can reduce. Yeah, that's actually a very good tip as well. So for those who are, especially after a big meal, don't just sit down. It's best to walk. Okay, and if you can have a like 30 to 1 hour walk, that'll be really good as well. Mm. I mean, how can we justify for meal to judge if you have enough? Sorry, I mean, how we justify for meal to judge if you have enough? Mm, sorry, I don't really understand the question here, lah. But I think if you're going to eat a very, for one meal, you take standard one. I think for most people, 1 bar stuff is enough. This is really up to your own gauge. If you think you're going to go buffet or the food in front of you is very high in fat and sugar, then, for your own discretion, of course, you can take 2 lah. But if you think it's just a very simple day-to-day meal, 1 bar stuff is enough. Okay? So once I get to my desired weight, I go back to 412, same of 15.8. First, the weight stays the same for both there. Okay, I need to know how long you have been on 15.8. Has it been pretty recent or for like 1 year already, or how long is it? So it's good to change. I also need to know what you eat. Yeah, I also need to know what do you really eat. And of course, from there, you can see how we can make those changes. And are you eating good quality protein or not? And of course, if that is not enough, then you have to look into detox as well. Yeah, that could actually help you to overcome the stagnancy. Mm. So how safe are Unimate and Parasite as for lactating moms? Uh, okay, this is a very difficult question to answer, okay, because there isn't any studies done on lactating moms. And because what you feed to your kid through breast milk, the child will also get it. So Unimate I won't recommend because there are caffeine, and I don't think that's very good if it goes through the milk, the milk stream. I think Bars Life S you can still consider, but I think Unimate is a no for me now. Yeah, definitely if you're on lactation. So okay, thank you everyone for your time here today. So really appreciate it. So look forward for the next series in, wow, it's going to be September so soon already, you know. So crazy, man. It's like been 1 year. And I don't know what have I really done for this year, to be frank. Okay, so all right, so we're gonna see you. We're gonna search through some more interesting topics and hope that in our next session it can also be you will learn a lot and you also be very meaningful to you. Okay, so of course I hope to see you next week in our pre big event. So for all in Singapore, I hope to see you not just only on this chat but also in physically, all right? So see you all and thank you so much for your time. Okay, bye.